Let's go. I'm gonna make you move with this. Straight Hope Entertainment, Lex, Virginia. Come on. This one for all my children. No, I truly love you. You gave my life a brand new meaning, take me to a wonder. I ignite the stage of glory like a boom of thunder. Now watch you rule your mother, ain't no fool upon you. This one for righteous living, I salute you, brother. If you stood by that lady's side, you turned into a mother. I hope you truly love her. She uses screw to rubber. Ain't scared of life, you manning up, that day is truly gutter. But I don't like this killing, I can lose another brother. Jack Bullet, the rifle sprayer, just to secure another blunder. But we say we love each other, say we slaves to another color. When we break each other, ain't no way to be strong, we need you long. We lost so many chosen, we need to please, they come thought provoking. Although house been broken, slaves can be kings once our heart gets molded. Schooling for march or protest, but when will we see our backyards most protest? Too many hearts are frozen, the slaves shall be kings once we are casually partying in partnership with other conquerors overconfident. Slaves the kings we build in our parliament. Yo, let us know how you feel. Drop your name in the comments, man. Where you tuning in from? What you want to hear us touch on tonight? Got a couple topics in mind. Know we a little late, you know, we operating on color people time as usual. But appreciate everybody that is tuning in. Give me a second to get my lineup straight. But how y'all doing this evening?
How y'all doing?
Shaylette, what's up? Nicole, what's up?
Hey, y'all.
Where's my light? Okay. What's up? Come on in. Drop your name, where you tuning in from. Oh, we on that account. That's fine. What's up, Nicole? One of the first things I want to touch on, um, since we do direct a lot of things at the Black community, another important thing to discuss is interracial marriage.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people really like you know, a lot of people think it doesn't matter, and it does. Should it? I don't know. You know, that's a personal question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not even a matter of if you're for it or against it, but it's just a matter of talking about it, dealing with it. And specifically for the Black community, one of the common rhetorics is Black men are always, once they get to a certain level of success, dating the white women, or even before that success, you know, they think they're too good for Black women. And a lot of people have their theories to why, regardless of how you feel about it. I came across a very interesting discussion, and this time I'm gonna get her name right. Same woman whom I played last time. Name is Dr. Shahrazad Ali.
Shahrazad Ali.
This time I got her name right. And she's always talking about a lot of the stuff that I've been touching on. She's been talking about it for, I mean, decades.
Right, since the 90s.
Wrote a book on it, and she really goes in depth about it. So I want to play this video from her really quick, just like as a little icebreaker. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but I would love to get y'all thoughts on some of the things that she says here. And then I think it'll be a good segue into other topics. This is another gentleman's video,
So he does kind of stop and give his rhetoric, which is good rhetoric to add to the point, but it kind of stretches out the point. So that's why I'm not going to watch the whole thing. Again, this is Dr. Shahrazad Ali.
I just started delivering for DoorDash and I absolutely love it. I was looking for extra ways to make some cash.
And it's
The
very
people we
interesting.
live with.
Facts.
But the people we've been with all our life. We can't.
Thumbnail, you look at the title of the video, you already know what time it is. It is time to get active. Shout out to YouTube channel, Manosphere Highlights Daily. Uploaded how she is today, her mindset today, and what she thinks about the things that are happening today. Without further ado,
And so our families have been so torn apart and we have been made to hate each other. And the other reasons is that every problem that the white woman has had with the white man, they have pushed those issues on us, or we have exhausted those issues and decided that that was our problem too. When I keep saying we don't have nothing to do with the white woman and what she got going with her man. We trying to deal with our own. And as a result of our frustration and our anger, many of our men have left us to go to women of other nationalities because they feel like they can get along with them better. It's not because they're better women, but they haven't suffered the same kind of traumas that we have from childhood growing up, what we saw, what we did, and all the things we had to go through. And so their mood is better. They ain't mad all the time like us. You know, we be uptight. We have unrealistic expectations, you know, and the unrealistic expectations has been our downfall. We have made up ideas about what a relationship and a husband or a man is supposed to be like. You know, we don't mind having a man as long as he don't act like a man.
Wow.
You know, we could be with him, but if we start coming up in that trying to give some instructions or say how he wants things or what we supposed to do, oh, we go get everybody then. It's, oh, no, you trying to.
So she touched on some things. I see you, sis. I'm assuming you're a sis. Sorry if I'm wrong. Honeycomb Cole. We definitely gonna touch on that, sis. Forgiveness is a really important topic. And it kind of segues into this a little bit too, but what she said is interesting here, because the common rhetoric that I hear from frustrated Black women is that it's not enough available Black men, because if they're not dead in jail in the street life, they're marrying white women. Which we could touch on the statistics on that another time. That's an exaggerated point.
Definitely.
Statistically.
I was even surprised when I seen the statistics.
But even with that said, I think she touched on some ideas that a lot of us have never thought about. And let's start by saying these problems can transcend race. So there could be people in any race who deal with the same issues mentioned. But when you have the Black community, whom is 74% growing up without a father in the home, on a large scale, you have a number of issues internally in the family structures that tend to be common. And these traumas breed bitterness oftentimes, and you end up with toxic behavioral systems. And sometimes I genuinely believe that it's a natural response for people to run from the type of environment they came from if it was not a good one. I don't think it's a matter of these Black men hating Black women just because they're Black. Because I see another rhetoric where it's like, your mama raised you, she was Black. And listen, it ain't about who raised me once I'm a man. It's about who I want to procreate with as a mate now to build with my own legacy. So I really wish we could break down those type of rhetorics and narratives and really stop that, because we can't have both. We can't on one side as Black people say, the white man did this to me and I'm oppressed and all of the struggles that we have, we're shouting them from the rooftops. And then we're angry at the people who rise up out of these struggles and say, no longer do I want that.
Right.
And so we have to understand that some people, what up, bro? King Smitty, some people simply get out of these struggles because they change their mindset, not because of a handout. And so once these mindsets change and you're dealing with others whose mindsets have yet changed, the only way to now exist in your new space is oftentimes to cut those people off, or even to not allow them into certain spaces, and definitely not to get into intimate relationships with them. rather that be white, black, Latino, whatever.
Mhm.
It just so happens that for a lot of Black men, they come from these types of homes. And I can relate to that. I came from a very toxic home. I came from a mother who came from a, toxic upbringing. And a lot of these traumas affected the way that she raised me and dealt with me. So it was no way in hell I was going to marry anybody like my mother. That's not to say that nobody should marry my mother. It just was not for me. I was like, okay, I've survived this upbringing. There is 0% chance I'm going to spend the second half of my life with anyone like that. If you're contentious, if you're argumentative, if you like to talk down on men and things like that, you want to try to beat a man down and dominate him, we won't get past the first date.
Right.
I cannot survive the second half of my life like that after spending my childhood that way.
And I think the issue is, in our community, being that way is what women these days call powerful, what women these days call strength. If your man can't handle your mouth, then he's the weak one. And I think there's got to be an accountability where we come and say, okay, there's got to be a compromise at least somewhere, instead of going on with life saying this is just how I am. You take it or leave it. That's just not how life is.
Nah, we got to be more accountable than that. Because at the end of the day, as a man, I don't get to say that's just how I am. If I'm hurting my wife, I'm hurting my kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Black woman has traditionally gotten away with that for so long that this is the first time for a lot of people they've ever heard someone bring accountability on a female. And I'm just like, I'm not going to bite my tongue on those things, because right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of who it's coming from. Even me as a parent, if I'm doing wrong to my child, I need to be able to acknowledge that.
Right.
And you see a lot of times there's a lot of stubbornness in our community where parents refuse to acknowledge the wrongs they do by their children, all the way into adulthood. So that's something to think about, to take into consideration with this topic. And I genuinely have heard Black men sometimes say like that they experience was even worse, where they may have grown up and the young ladies in their neighborhoods wanted the thugs, they wanted the gangsters, they wanted the BET version of a Black man. And because they got good grades and were focused on life, doing the things they were supposed to do, they were shunned by Black women. So now as an adult, they're like, now that I've made it and I'm a 6-figure, highly desirable man, I'm not going back to that. Y'all were too good for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And can we knock that? I think to a certain level, we have to be okay with people having a preference.
Right. Hey, Jacqueline.
What's up, sis?
Tell me what to do. Somebody need to tell us what to do. It's obvious we don't know what to do. Everywhere I go, people say that final thing. We just need to come together. We just need to get in unity. Well, most of us can't get in unity with the people we live with.
Thanks.
With the people we.
How many of us have heard that? This is the most common thing we hear in the Black community. We need to come together. We need to, and it's so toxic. Support Black business. It's like, regardless of if my business is trash, because I'm Black, support it. And I just don't subscribe to that type of stuff. I'm going to spend, listen, I will support mom and pop shops. I will support small business, but Black business has to still be running excellence.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why is it that we go to a Black club and it's $30 to get in, and everything that's happening is ghetto, not up to par? Security is horrible. People get shot in the club. How do you even get a gun in the club? And you know what I mean? And you can go to a non-Black establishment and pay $5 to get in for better quality. You know what I mean? So I think there has to be a certain level of accountability in our community that says we don't get a pass just because we're Black to do wrong and toxic things. Look like we got a comment. Jacqueline said, bless you both for taking the time to talk to us. This is good. We need this. Amen, sis.
Been with all our life. We can't get into them. So that can't be the total goal. We're going to have forced unity. See, not getting along is a luxury. Being able to disagree, break up, make up, and all of that, that's a luxury. But there will come a time based on things that we all need to survive, and where we gonna need a man, where we gonna get past a whole lot of what we got going now. It's just gonna fade away. Like Trump said, it's gonna poof, it'll disappear. It's not gonna be that. But right now,
Whoa. let's let the track breathe real quick. You know what's crazy? I'm sitting there looking at this, you know what I'm saying? And man, I could just sit and listen to her all day, just tell stories. You know what I'm saying? Just tell stories. Just talk about the olden days. You know what I'm saying? Not just talk about that, but like I want to just hear her perspective, writing her book in the 90s and what she went through at that time, given all the backlash that
so we're gonna skip.
Let's get back in there. She was cooking.
Now, the man's role would be to protect and provide. Now, when we say provide, that don't mean buy you every kind of weave you want that costs $800 or $900. It don't mean buy you every kind of Gucci and Fendi and Louis Vuitton. That ain't what provide means. He's going to provide direction and guidance, love, affection, discipline for our children, and help with all of those kind of things. Provide ideas. See, one of our problems as Black women is that we ain't got nothing to do. Other than work for white people, we don't have too much to do. Go to the church. And many of us treat the people at the church and the minister like we should be treating our man at home.
Can we pause right there? Now, to hear this from a woman is so refreshing. I'm telling you, ladies especially, I hear this from men all the time. It drives them crazy. When wife cherishes and honors pastor, deacon, and prophet so-and-so more than she does her own husband. It is unacceptable and out of order.
Out of order.
I hear it all the time, and I'm just so blessed to hear this sister giving this game. I think this is what we're missing in our culture today is the older generation that's giving game to the young generation.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it's like the baby boomers are horrible. I'm sorry, my baby boomer friends out there. If we're friends, you're probably one of the few that slipped through the cracks by the grace of God. But that generation is horrible when it comes to feeding the next generation. I don't know what they went through. They called that the me generation, ironically.
Mm.
And it's like that generation does not appear to want to see our generation thrive. It's like they want to see the same toxic results come out of us.
Right.
And I just miss the idea of the church mothers, the grandmothers that used to feed the next generation these wisdom, these key points, because it's like, this ain't working. This ain't gonna work. You're not gonna have a successful marriage that way.
Right. And it's something that we all desire, especially once you get, up to, between women, between 25 to 30, you start to think about those things and you're like, dang, I wish I could talk to an old head. I wish I could talk to somebody with some wisdom on how I should go about this, especially in marriage and in family. I know I've been through that. Like, who can I talk to? I need to glean from someone. And I didn't have that. Thankfully, God has given me certain women throughout the nation that I've been able to connect with on Facebook, who's been giving me their wisdom. But it's something that we need.
Yes. And that boomer generation is like so jealous, and it's just hard for them for some reason. It's like they were the heart of the birth of that whole women's right movement, going out into the world, and I can do it on my own. And now they're living the result of that. Many of them are old in age, likely dying alone. Mm-hmm. They don't have a mate. They don't have anyone to grow old with. And instead of sharing that wisdom, hey, maybe don't focus so much on society's goals for you, but put a little bit of attention into building a family. It's almost like they stand in the way of this next generation. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, not all.
Right.
And so that's troublesome for me to see. And I just really wish more of us would get this.
So, we have it all mixed up. So those are some of the things that the man needs to do. He needs to not let us get away with things, because the moment we get away with sneaking a line, we really open it up and do that a lot more because we think we've got him tricked.
I noticed one thing she talked about was instruction. The man coming in and giving instruction. And and order into a home. That alone I know is offensive to modern women. I think we probably lost a lot of viewers already off that, and I don't understand that. And it's just so refreshing to hear a woman that's also addressing these things, because sometimes you don't realize how bad things have gotten until you get to communicating with people.
Yeah.
And you just see like we have really lost touch with our values.
Right. Men know they need women, but women don't know that they need men.
Right.
Nowadays.
Facts.
One of the first questions that I would ask her if I ever had the opportunity to be able to interview her is, what does she think about this particular sector of YouTube?
And that's one of the reasons that so many Black women were angry with me for putting out the Black Man's Guide to Understand the Black Woman, because our men needed a heads up. And even with that, it's hard for them. But they just have certain information they don't have about us that keeps them confused and makes them reject us and go to someplace else. He's outside looking for peace of mind. Yeah, because we're not that familiar with peace. We're just familiar with getting dressed up and putting on eyelashes and, maybe even going to school. More of us are graduating from college. More of us are getting PhDs. We got good credit cards. We got a whole lot of things. Cars.
But not
it
happiness.
hasn't made us happy. We're still sitting around talking about why we don't have companionship, which is the ultimate goal. It don't have to be marriage. It can just.
So notice that what she said is a lot of us are not used to peace. My God, if that doesn't sum up my childhood.
Whew.
I mean, it's just mind blowing to me how true that reality is. And I'm just saying, like, the number one thing that a man looks for in a woman is her ability to provide him peace. If that man has to go out into the workplace and compete and come home to compete, and first of all, I doubt that he's even going to get married to a situation like that. If he does, I don't expect that marriage to work. I don't expect that marriage to work. Where the balance of peace has gotten thrown off in our community, that's multifaceted discussion, but that was just such a key point that she touched on right there. What's up, Kel? Kel said, wasn't the boomer generation introduced to the separation of the Black man and the Black woman? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, the baby boomer generation is like those born in the 1960s going into the 70s. So that's the heart of that movement.
Yeah.
That's where women were acclimated into the workforce. And, a lot of people get mad at me about that. I genuinely believe that is the heart of the reason we're in the predicament we're in. We're only 1 in 4 Blacks are married. I really do, because the dynamic changed from women seeing males as provider, protector, someone that I need, someone that our household depends on for survival, to something to appease me.
Yeah. To add
to what I already got when I'm ready.
Right.
And the reality is we touched that last episode. Go back and watch it, because I don't want to reiterate things we already did. But the reality is, a lot of times when you're waiting till you're 30, 35 to get married because you put everything into a career, if that man meets you and he wants 4 kids, y'all got to start right now to give him 1.
Right.
He's not going to get that. So a lot of times, at certain ages, it gets hard. It gets hard because you're not able to grow together and build the foundation that you would have been able to build in your 20s. And we're going to touch on something else about the benefits of those things, even marrying young, when it comes to parenting, that Jordan Peterson touched on really good. Mike Thomas said, women know they need men. I believe they have developed this sense of pride. Their mantra becomes, I don't need no man. My nanny talks extremely highly of her boyfriend, yet wants to prove she can do it by herself instead of living together so they can have more. It's crazy to me. That's mind-blowing to me, bro.
It's a societal issue, because I think, we're pressured. We're pressured to do it on our own, to prove to everybody that I'm independent and I can do it by myself. I don't need a man, even though, like you said, we deep down know that we need it. We need a man. We want a man. We want to be taken care of and provided for. But at the end of the day, we have something to prove to everybody else.
Why?
I don't know. I guess it has a lot to do with, one, the shaming of not having your own, the little sneak disses that you would get if you aren't doing anything other than raising a family. It's just keeping up with the Joneses.
Who the hell is the
I
Joneses?
don't know.
Whoever the Joneses is, yo, we need to go exterminate their family so we can get our society back, yo.
Yeah.
Because the Joneses have ruined so many families, dog. If we could really just focus on the assignment God gave us as a unit, as a household, and we could just turn off society, man.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy to me. Like you'll have situations where there will be a provider, protector in a home, and a woman still must be outside of the home just to prove to the world that I'm worth something.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened to our society that taking care of your own child is not worth anything anymore? Putting our children in daycare is a strong woman.
Yeah.
Versus the woman that's able to be there for every need of her children, pick them up from school, be there if the school nurse calls.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I just don't understand where that value got flipped. King Smitty says failure hurts twice as much when you're trying to prove a point. Honeycomb Cole said it's not the fact they don't feel as though they don't need one. It's just the generation now has no knowledge of loyalty or trust on both ends. Marriage and relationships now be for show. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah. Okay. I mean, maybe that's the experiences you've seen, so I'm not gonna knock that. And that's what I hear a lot. Honestly, it sounds like it's a lot of fear around marriage. I think we see the worst examples of marriage, and that becomes everybody's reason why they don't want to even try it.
Yeah. And this, I like what she said about it a marriage becomes for show.
Right.
And I agree, especially
That's a good point.
For women. They come in with the wrong idea rather than let's build a family, let's leave legacy, let's do this, let's do that. It is really, let me prove that I can get married. Let me get that ring. And it's all about the wedding and the ring rather than the marriage.
Wow.
So
after the honeymoon, it's like, okay, what now?
What now?
Mike Thomas said, my wife's maiden name is Jones. Her great grandpa was big time in her hometown. Got a whole street named after him. Maybe those are the Joneses people trying to keep up with. Hey, bro, we need to go tear that sign down.
Yeah, go tear it down.
And I'm gonna talk to you offline about what we got to do about grandpa. Because we got to take care of them Joneses. Honeycomb said, you're right, Jazz. Amen to that. Amen to that. Jacqueline said, maybe watching too much soap operas acting out their part. Listen, I really think the media is a big problem in this. Yeah. I really do. Because I ain't gonna lie, you won't believe how many people I talk to. And when they start giving narratives, I ask, well, give me an example. Where is that coming from? And, everybody do it. I'm like, that's not true because that's not us. Well, everybody, come on, you see it on TV. And people really think what they see on TV is the general ideas behind life.
Mm-hmm. I'm guilty of it. I still do it to this day, and then feel like, who do you know that does that? And then I think about it, like, that was a movie.
It's a drama for a reason.
That was a movie.
It's a drama for a reason. So what was you want to touch on with forgiveness?
I just wanted to talk about how important forgiveness is, especially in all relationships, honestly, if you want a relationship to last. But most importantly, in a marriage, how we have to come in understanding that we're both human beings, that nobody's perfect, and know that, we're going to make mistakes, and you can't hold someone up to a standard. You got to understand that we're people, and forgiveness is the foundation of marriage, one of the big pillars of marriage, because you can't, there's no way that you're gonna last without it. There's no way.
I think people really get caught up in thinking that they are supposed to marry Mr. Right. And Mr. Right ain't in the Bible.
I was about to say there's
no such thing, yo. Like I genuinely don't know a lengthy marriage where there was no problems.
Right.
And the best ones, you just don't know the details because they kept their mouth shut and kept their family out their business. Amen. That's the problem. A lot of folks out here, they got to run and tell mama everything. They got to hop on Facebook every time there's an issue, and you just don't know they going through problems. But these same folks on Facebook judging everybody and you know, acting all holier than thou, they got problems.
Yes.
They got problems. And I think so many people don't want to marry because they assume ain't no good men or women out here. And I think the expectations are ridiculous. Yeah. I think nobody wants to grow together. And I'm here to tell you, call me mean, I don't believe Mr. Right's coming to you. I don't believe he exists. And I don't even think it's fair for you to expect that, especially when the Bible says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. You know you're not Mrs. Right. And it's all these high standards on men nowadays, especially. I mean, as a believer, just knowing how much Christ did for me and accepted me and all of my flaws, it just wows me how much Christians don't approach marriage with that same mindset.
It's the same thing. And when you really think about it, when you get over something that was so detrimental to your marriage or relationship and you find forgiveness, it makes that bond even stronger. That's why when you see these 60-year-old marriages and you really start to dig and hear about the things that they reveal to you, like, see, how in the world? And they just adore their husband or they adore their wife, and they just look so like oneness, unbreakable. And it takes going through things. It takes trials in order to get to that place where you feel, where you know you can trust this person. You can trust them that no matter what, I have somebody that I can fall back on. And it's just nothing better than knowing that, we can get through anything.
Yeah, we so quick to throw marriages away now. Like people will throw you in the trash. So like the divorce word needs to be the biggest curse word in your house. Yo.
Don't say it. And be mad. Go sit down somewhere, go pray, go do what you got to do, but try not to say that word in your house.
Yeah, especially in the first couple of years of marriage, because some people have a honeymoon phase for a long time, but my first couple of years of marriage was hard. Becoming one and growing together and like learning all these different things, and we was like, yo, I didn't know this was going to be an issue. And a lot of people just so quick to throw marriage away. And I think that divorce word needs to be out of the question, because if you come in marriage already planning and thinking about your escape, it's that much easier.
That segues into having backup plans, having backup men or backup jobs or backup bank accounts, or in case you have to get a divorce. You should not ever be planning for a divorce. With that mindset, you're more than likely going to get a divorce because you're ready to jump at any situation. You're ready to jump at any situation to just say, all right, F it, I got what I need over here. I've been setting up anyways. And that's not a commitment when you walk in, preparing for failure. That's not commitment.
Jacqueline just messed my life up.
You ready to?
She said, what happened to the days where women were seen but not heard? Did we not talk about that today?
We just talked about that.
Jacqueline, you're going to make people run out of my broadcast, sis. They don't like this. This is why they stay single and die alone. They don't like this type of talk, Jack.
Yeah.
But you know what happened to those days? The divorce rates shot up. That's what happened. What left with those days was happy marriages. Because at the end of the day, the hard reality is that scripture says Man was not made for the woman, but the woman was made for the man. We are too politically correct nowadays. We're too politically correct nowadays, and we've allowed feminism to destroy marriages.
Mhm.
It was never intended to be like that. The Bible says that God saw that Adam was lonely and created him a helpmate suitable for him.
From his rib.
So when you're trying to become a wife, that needs to be your mindset. How do I prepare myself to be suitable for him? It should not be what he got to offer me.
Mhm.
If you don't see him as a provider, protector that you want to follow and worthy of being a leader, you shouldn't even be entertaining him for marriage. Don't accept the proposal. But if you're going into the marriage about you, you're going to destroy that marriage.
Mhm. God made us women naturally malleable. We are able to adapt to our surroundings for a reason. And it's so we can adapt to whomever weds us. So we can be what that man needs. We are a helpmate. And in that balance, it just creates, a beautiful union. But when you're competing and you're trying to be the head when you should be the neck, it's just not working.
Facts. Cody said, I'm sure those women were loud to their men behind closed doors. Now you hear them on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. Talk about it, bro. Let's talk at home.
Right.
Ain't nothing more detestable than seeing a woman berating her man in public and thinking that mess is cute, yo. Like, I honestly be like, I can't wait till he leave her. Because it's horrible.
Yeah.
Because the way that you treat this is the power that women don't know they have. The way you treat your husband in public can reflect the way other men respect him.
Yep.
I'm watching that when I see another man. And when I see that, I'm like, okay.
Oh, he a beta.
Got you. No, I mean, even deeper in dealings with him, like I'm hesitant to deal with him certain ways because I'm like, you don't even got control of your own house.
Mhm.
Your wife don't respect you as the leader. There's a flaw there.
Wait.
I can't do business with you.
Control. That's a bad word, babe.
Oh.
You can't say control.
You can't control your house?
You can't control your house.
Oh, okay.
You can't control.
Well, then I'm a bad man. Cody said agree in public, disagree in private. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. I think we're just allowing people to get away with too much stuff nowadays, unchecked. And I mean, when I say unchecked, I mean just in these conversations, like setting the groundwork in society for what is and is not acceptable, especially as believers. We got to stop co-signing stuff like that, man. Justice said, people think that all that is because they are not real Christian. Can you clarify what you mean by that, bro? I think I agree with you. I just don't quite understand. Jacqueline said it's not cute, and we as women represent the man in public. Amen. Absolutely.
We are our reflection of our men.
Listen, I mean, one of the greatest representations of that man, because I'm telling you, as a man, it might be a subconscious thing. I can talk to a brother all day long, but when I see how his wife receives him, that tells me so much more than any interaction we have a lot of times, especially if she's a good wife and I see that she's valuable to her home and that she's not contentious. She's not one of those troublesome ladies. And when there's an issue there, you got to wonder why.
Right.
Like, y'all got a lot of power to even help your man get to the next level in life without even speaking sometimes. And you don't even recognize that.
Who was it that said that? Was it the doctor that said you can create heaven or hell for your man?
Yep. That was the same woman we just listened to, Shahrazad Ali.
Yeah.
Kel said, we spoke on that earlier, your reflection and representative of your spouse. Amen. Cody said, when people perceive cracks in the relationship, they will tempt the woman or man into an adulterous situation. Bro,
see that weakness.
That easy.
You're easy target at that point.
And that's usually what comes of the strong women that ain't gonna listen to their man. They 99% of the time always cheat. Always. Because if you don't even respect them in that manner.
Yeah. I mean, right.
I mean, we don't even gotta go there. That's common sense. So with that said, one of the big things in marriage is the concept of leaving the mother and father and cleaving to your wife. Real quick, I like these comments. Jacqueline said it's also not good because you could be putting a blessing in danger because we entertain angels unaware. That's so good. She deep. We needed her tonight.
Yeah.
Shay said, people may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. Absolutely. But yeah, we got to be careful with the leave your mother and father, cleave to your wife thing. I notice a lot of young marriages, especially, they kind of just toss that one out the window, or maybe really gave it no real thought. The same way we do with our vows, through thick or thin, better or for worse, always has a limit for most of us.
Right. Except.
Yeah. But man, one of the biggest issues I see amongst my friends who are married, especially coming up, was these parents, these outside influences that had nothing to do with you. I guess that falls into the Joneses, even, especially in my boy Mike Thomas situation, where the Joneses is actually your in-law. I mean, Jesus, it can't get no more prophetic than that. But you see that all the time, man, and it's so detrimental if you don't know how to set those boundaries with parents. Husbands, don't let nobody disrespect your wife. As provider and protector, that does not even mean that your parents get a pass.
Right.
I see so often, especially in these communities where it's single parent households, where the moms have unhealthy relationships with sons, and even fathers get controlling when it comes to their daughters and things like that. And when you used to running to mom and dad about everything, and you allowing these people into your spaces, you can create chaos. Your marriage has to be between you and your husband.
Absolutely.
You can hit the comments real quick. Let me.
And to continue to what you were saying, like for instance, if you go on to talk to parents about what your husband did or what your wife did, and then you decide later that you're going to forgive him and move forward, and things are going good now, and all your parents can think about is what you told them. That is what they see your husband as, because they don't love him like you love him. Nope. They didn't forgive him like you forgave him. That's why it's important to first take it to God and talk to your husband. And if you really need to talk to somebody, find an outsider, somebody who isn't a part of your family, someone who is like-minded, who is married, and if you're a Christian, and still be careful of the things that you tell them.
Christians are messy. They are messy.
No, make sure that you know that you can trust them, because not everybody is mature enough to handle what kind of situations you might be going through, because not everybody came from what you came from, or can handle what you can handle. So it's really touchy. The best thing to do is keep it to yourself.
Or get a straight up therapist that has laws that they must abide by.
Right.
I mean, and that's just real. But mom and dad, especially, keep them out your marriage. No. Keep them out your marriage.
Big no.
Shay said, my thing, what goes between you and your spouse should be between you two. Yes. I mean, y'all becoming one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why am I dissing myself?
Right.
You go into other people talking bad about your spouse, and you're not gonna leave them. What are you gonna gain from that? Like you said, when we make up, like all you did is put a stain on your marriage.
Right.
Mike said, long comment, I know I'm late, but I was reminded last week about something I learned in premarital counseling. Forgiveness isn't for the wrongdoer, it's for the person wronged. Oftentimes it's easier to walk away than to give our spouse the same love and grace we ask from them and that God gives us. Talk about it. My mother-in-law apologized to me and thanked me for my relationship with my wife and how she treated me in the beginning. Bro, if that ever happened to me, I would swear Jesus about to return that day. I simply told her I forgave you years ago. Who wants to carry around that hate all the time? Every time I see you, I got to remind myself to be mad. F out of here. Real rap, bro. Yeah. And I'm glad, like you said, you forgave her years ago. And sometimes forgiveness don't mean I got to deal with you.
Right.
Learn how to put up boundaries. I can forgive you and still not deal with you, especially if you're unrepentant and I know that you're going to continue the issue.
And I like what he said. The forgiveness isn't for the wrongdoer. It's for you.
Yep.
It's for you. Because that bitterness it's unhealthy. Even physically, it's not good for you.
So let's let the doctor himself talk about it. Dr. Jordan Peterson, world-renowned psychologist, been a clinical psychologist for a long 20+ year careers, dealt with plenty of patients, and helping them see their way through their life's traumas and problems. And he's taking his experience now and giving us a lot of useful information. Look him up on YouTube. You can see a lot of him on our broadcast.
Yes.
Who's a psychotherapist, great psychotherapist. I'd very much recommend his books to people, especially if they want to learn to listen, because he was really good at teaching people how to listen. He had this idea that what he would manifest towards his clients in therapy was unconditional positive regard. And I've always had trouble with that because you don't treat your children, for example, with unconditional positive regard.
You mean,
There's
so
always
no matter
conditions.
what someone
Yeah.
says, you're saying, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
or
well,
that's a good thing?
that's why it's tricky. Well, what he didn't articulate it, I think, as well as he might have. What you want to do is for your child is that you want the best for the best in them. That's what you want. And that's what you want from people that you surround yourself with. Now, they'll hold you to a high standard if that's the case, right? Because whenever you degenerate in any of the multiple ways that you're likely to degenerate, they're going to like whack you on the back of the head and say, clue the hell in, you're demeaning yourself. You're less than you could be. And there's real judgment in that. And it's harsh, but with friends, it's the same thing. You want friends. They're not friends if they're not these people. You want friends who, when something good happens to you, that's good for you, right? They're happy about that. They're not like all bitter and resentful underground and like saying horrible things behind your back and telling you how they did something that was better and trying to drag you down. It's like that.
For those who have not experienced this, it may sound crazy, but this is a real thing. I'm telling you, I've experienced it. There are people out here that you cannot tell them a single great thing going on in your life without receiving back a negative response, something that they did better, or why it ain't good enough,
happening for me,
or why it ain't happening for them.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a very tolerant person when it comes to the people I love, but there has to come a point where you realize that this is toxic and it's going to hold you back. And a part of being a healthy adult is knowing how to recognize this and distancing yourself from that type of energy, because it is not going to help you prosper.
Mm-hmm.
Not helpful. And then when something bad happens to you and you go to them and you say, look, this terrible thing happened to me. First of all, they don't try to top it with some like horrible thing that happened to them because they don't have the patience to listen. And second, they're not secretly gloating about the fact that catastrophe finally befell you. It's like they're actually hurt by it. And that chapter is an injunction. It's like, take a look at the people that are around you. And if they're not on the side of what's good for you, then walk away, because, well, first of all, that's best for them too. If you put up with that, all you're doing is enabling it. It's like, well, it's okay that you mistreat me in a way that's harmful to me and everyone else. It's like, actually, no, that is not okay. It's not the least bit okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to help someone when they're down. That's a whole different issue.
What if it's your family? So you know how you say like walk away, right?
Yeah.
Pay attention. What if it's your family? This is the hang up for most folks. We have been taught in society that family comes first. And no matter what, that's your blood. Blood is thicker than water. And we have allowed a toxic cycle of people being able to use these titles to push narcissistic behavior and emotional abusive tactics on people because they get to hide behind the resolve of, I am a family member. I am this person in your life.
Right.
And there has to come a place where you recognize what that person in your life is supposed to uphold in that title and not allow anything less than that to remain.
Right.
Do you still walk away from your family, or do you
You do if it's necessary.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways of walking away.
Oh yeah,
You
like
know,
create boundaries.
Well, there's
kind of
that
thing.
for sure. There's that. I mean, you sometimes someone's on an incorrigible path.
Yeah.
Like there's just nothing you can do. Maybe they're aiming down.
Yeah.
They're aiming down hard, and they're bitter, and everything they do is to produce misery, virtually everything. And you have to detach yourself from that. It's like I always think about it. from the perspective of a lifeguard. So if you're training to be a lifeguard, one of the things that you're trained to do is to approach someone who's drowning and panicking. And the way you approach them is you put your foot out between you and them, and you push forward with your hands with your foot out. And you basically tell them, if they're flailing about, say, look, I'm here to help, but you have to calm down. And then if they cling to you, like in panic, you push them away. You think, well, that's pretty damn cruel, because what if they drown? It's like, yeah, what if you both drown? That's like not helpful. You're there to rescue them. They take you down. You're both dead. It's like fail, right? So you say, look, quit panicking. I'll help you out, but I'm not drowning along with you. It's like, well, it's the same with someone in your family. It's like, if they're on a downward path and you've done your best, you've made your efforts, and they're not paying attention. They're not changing. They say, yeah, well, I'll quit doing this. Yeah, I'll quit doing this. They tell you the same story over and over and over. It's a downhill path. You don't trust it.
Even worse, if they refuse to acknowledge it, or they say they're not going to change it.
Get over it.
Point. First of all, you stop offering your words. That's do not cast pearls before swine. A very, very harsh statement, right? But what it means is, if you're offering words of wisdom to someone in the genuine attempt to help, and they treat that with contempt, then shut up, because you're demeaning your words by throwing them away. You think, well, how do you help someone who's aiming down? Well, sometimes you help them by walking away and saying, look, you're aiming down so hard that I am, despite the fact you're my brother, man, it's like, this is killing me. You're aiming down so hard, I'm not coming along with you. And the reason I'm not is to tell you in no uncertain terms that what you're doing is so terrible that I will even violate our kinship to oppose it. And maybe it'll take them 10 years to wake up to that, and so that can be the case because, people often have to be hit so many times before they'll learn. You see that especially if someone's addicted or otherwise pursuing a pathway that's like seriously downhill. So, yeah. Harsh.
You cover that pretty well in that chapter where you're saying there's a certain point where you just got to say, no, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done. Well, it's like, what?
We see this a lot, especially, in my own community. I see it a lot. And you hear it a lot. You hear, but it's your brother though, but it's your mom. You only get one mom. Listen, if you allow people to talk you into continuing to exhume toxic behavior, you are responsible for your downfall.
Right. It affects you. You may feel like you're strong enough to handle it, but it's psychological warfare. It affects you.
It's witchcraft. Let's call it.
Yeah.
It's witchcraft. And especially in the confines of a marriage, your family ultimately is your household.
Amen.
So anybody else, extended family members, listen, our relationship extends to the extent that it's healthy.
Right.
You don't get to just deal with me in any kind of manner because of your title. Once I am married and I have a family of my own, my responsibility is to my family. So ultimately, like, we got to learn how to make healthy decisions, man.
Should I think that you're actually trying to change? Maybe you're just telling me you tell me the story that you use to justify your own idiocy to yourself. And then you tell it to me and you demand that because I'm compassionate, I accept it and therefore validate your excuse. It's like, well, it's really hard not to get tangled up in that, right? Because if someone who's really in rough shape is telling you about why they're suffering, first of all, they're probably about half right in their story. But some of it's justification and excuse and blaming and all of that, failure to take responsibility. It's really hard to stand up and say, no, I don't buy that. No, I don't buy that. No, you're wrong about that. You have to be a brutal bastard in order to do that. But hey, sometimes like surgery is brutal, right? It's brutal, but
we're going to cut you open and we're going to rip out part of your body.
If you, like myself, have come from toxic backgrounds, it can be very hard to hear this and accept it. And I love what he said about being brutally honest. It's like surgery, because my wife and I have a hard time keeping friends nowadays, because we have evolved to that place of brutal honesty and walking in truth.
Mhm.
And so many that I've grown up with, so many from my background, have avoided accountability in their lives for so long that when they deal with people that are in a place like, hey fam, this is wrong.
Right.
Let's not do this to each other. I ain't do that. Nah, I mean, and it's always escapism.
Mhm.
And I don't deal on that level no more.
Yeah.
I don't deal on that level anymore. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but when I do you wrong and you confront me, I did you wrong. You know what I mean? Now, if there's false narratives and assumptions, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? But there has to come a point in time where you walk in the truth.
And then a lot of times you with friends or people that we deal with, and we're walking in truth, and we, confront a situation, there's gaslighting involved.
Yes.
And that's what I can't. If you feel, if you want to act like I'm crazy or tripping for my feelings or for me bringing something to you, then you're not truly my friend.
That's not a friend.
Yeah.
And I'm at a place now where when I recognize you're not really a friend, I'm okay with that. I let people exist where they are. I'm not begging for friendship, and I'm definitely not bowing to dishonesty to keep you around.
Right.
Because if you value my relationship, you will value what I brought to you, especially if I came to you in a private conversation.
Right.
And I said, hey, and I got friends in here that can attest to this, that when they felt that I've done them wrong, I've called them like a grown man, and I've apologized and said, hey, my brother, I value your friendship, and I don't want to lose it over something this petty. I'm sorry for saying that to you. I didn't realize it affected you that way. Exactly. I have friends in here right now that can attest to this.
Yeah.
Why is this so hard for especially the Black community? It's mind blowing to me. But
I mean, I've been in a situation where I've had a friend for years, since middle school, and we were a lot alike when we were young, and then we grew up, and I went my way, she went her way, and then we grew up to be two different people, but I kept her around because I felt like, she needed me. I felt like I was the light in her life, but there were certain boundaries that she kept crossing, and I kept talking to her about it. I kept saying, I don't feel comfortable with this anymore. We're not in high school anymore. No, I'm not your BITCH. I'm not your wifey. I have a husband now. We used to say little things like that growing up, but now I'm a grown woman, and this is how I operate anymore. And I had numerous talks with her about this, and she just, oh, you tripping? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then do it right after that. And then it came to a point where I'm like, I love you. I want the best for you, but this friendship can go no more. We're not the same anymore. I don't even know what to talk to you about anymore. And you don't respect my feelings. And that's okay. Everybody isn't meant to be in your life forever. There's seasons for people.
Right. Shaylette said, well, I had one of my brothers not show up to my brother that died funeral services because when they talked to each other, it was a fight. But this is my thing. Life is too short to hold damn grudges. Let that shit go. Sorry for the language. I agree with you, sis. I got people in my family that I'm not dealing with at the time. And if they were to die, I would go to their funeral. I would see them off. But I will also say you got to let bro live. It's his life. And you probably got to forgive him and let it go, and try not to let that come between your relationship if you can. I don't know if he said any harsh words to you, because some things you're not meant to understand. Right. Because those same family members I said that I would go to their funeral, I'm not dealing with right now. And I've had multiple attempts from family members to try to force me to come to events, trick me up to come to their house, and try to create this situation of reconciliation that's not real, because the other family member has not reached out to me and desired that. And every time that it happens, I'm still getting excuses and lack of accountability. And it's never genuine, hey, I want to fix this. It's people trying to force us in the same room so we can forget about what happened.
Forget about it. Let's just move
I'm
on.
not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that at 32 years old. You know what I mean? Especially with issues that I've been dealing with for a large portion of my life. But I definitely get what you're saying when it comes to that funeral. That was petty in my opinion, but you know, I can't speak on that man's decision because it may have been deep to him.
Right.
It may have been deep to him, and maybe I don't want to believe this, but maybe in his mind something happened that was so serious that he was happy the man died. People think like that sometimes, and some people just they got to get over their problems in different ways.
Right.
Cody said, with age comes wisdom. Hopefully now you know how to spot who are friends and who are acquaintances. Absolutely. And I love my acquaintances. Everybody ain't got to be a friend.
Right.
That's why I say I deal with people on the level they are. If I start to see things that's shaky with you, like, all right, maybe that's not the person that's going to be invited to the cookout.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that don't mean that we can't chat it up when I see you at this place, or, you know, we can't still do music together or something like that. You know what I mean? Know how to set boundaries for each relationship.
Yeah.
Eric said, I haven't spoken to my brother for a couple of years because he really crossed the line with me, and he's having his first baby at 45 years old in a month or two, and I haven't decided if I'm going to call. Nobody will be meeting the baby because of COVID. I get it, bro. It's tough, man. Especially, I don't know the reason why y'all fell out, you know, but it really ain't for me to decide if you're right or wrong. Trust me, I get it, man. And it's like that. It's some family members, I don't care what the event is, I'm not coming around. I don't care. There's no excuse. You know, they tried to make Christmas a reason. They tried to buy my kids gifts like that was gonna buy forgiveness instead of just talking to me. I don't even want a sorry. I just want accountability.
Right.
And that's too hard.
Right.
So a gift ain't gonna fix that. I could buy my kids gifts myself.
Yeah.
You know, Jacqueline Rich said it's not meant for everybody to go with you on your journey. Absolutely, sis.
And I know us talking about this when it comes to family, it can be scary and it can be hard. But coming from experience, both of us had to let go a lot of people. When you do, your life goes quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly, especially if they were, they were unhealthy or narcissistic. Your life is gonna change, and it's gonna change for the better. You're gonna realize that there were strongholds, there were things going on in your mind and insecurities that you didn't know they were the reason for.
Things that they have said to you over the years
Right.
that you continue to hold on to and believe about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to clear your headspace so you can see, like, no, I am okay.
Right.
I am called. I am meant for something. Like when you got negativity in your ear, you can forget what God says to you.
Right, exactly. Especially when it's the people you love and respect.
Yep. Happens all the time. So with that said, perfect example of parents too involved with their child to an unhealthy degree. We're going to get into one of our favorite parts of our broadcast, good old Paternity Court. What we love about this show and why we love to show this on here, because we get to see the result of fatherlessness, man. It didn't come up this time, but typically the judge asks the mother if she was raised by her father, if her father was home, and it's almost always no. Almost always no. And so I'm biased. I have a heart for women in adult entertainment industry. I've worked as a bouncer in a strip club before, and I got to see the backstories and get to know people in that situation and see them in a more humanized light. So one thing I appreciate about this young lady is that she was honest and accountable. And she said, I don't know. It's a chance.
She said from the get-go, even after her boyfriend, she said, it's a possibility it's you.
Right. And this is a flaw in the system. You know, I don't really know how to fix that. That's a whole nother conversation where, You know what I mean? It probably just would have been easier if bro would have just went up there and took the test
Yeah.
and avoided all of this. I'm not gonna sit up in jail for a kid that's not mine when I could just go do a swab.
A quick swab.
But with that said, man, that mom, yo, that's a perfect
She was
example. Like,
nasty.
she's nasty, she's toxic, and she has an unhealthy bond with this young man. Like, he's a grown man, and you're standing up in court for him, speaking for him, arguing with the young woman that he chose to lay with.
Right.
And I don't see any level of accountability for his actions coming from her.
I mean, look at how he was acting. He's acting like a little boy. Get me off. Like, you on national TV.
Justice said, when he said I didn't feel anything when he was with the baby, I was like, please don't be a father, because that's not right. I said the same thing, bro. And I kind of get him, because I think most dads know what he's talking about. Like, you know, typically you know, like when you holding your kids, you like, yo, you me.
You me, right.
So I get what he was saying, but I was like, man, don't let that be his kid. And he just said that on national TV. Yeah. Christina said she was rough. Yeah, that mom, she's something else, man. Yeah. And she's the perfect example of what we be talking about with these overbearing parents, grown kids, and you know, you just got no sense of boundaries or letting him be an adult. Shaylet said it was mom's nose for me. I kept looking at it. Eric said, I got to thank you for doing stuff like this, reading my comments, including everyone. With my health, I don't have the energy for support groups, and I can't go to therapy because I can't move my jaw for more than 10 minutes. So this is nice of you too. Hey, bro, we family, man. We officially had our first argument this week. So you my brother now. You know, once we survive a falling out, we family. And we took our accountability. We said what we had to say, and we moved on. So it's all love, bro. And I'm glad you can be here with us. This is therapy for us in a sense. You know, we're parents of 6 kids, 1 on the way. For those who missed the announcement last time, there it is. So this is an outlet for us as well, man. So we appreciate y'all sticking with us, joining. What's up, Vince? My bro, yo, me and that dude used to play 2K for hours, man. I'm glad to see you pop in, bro. But yeah, man, that's why I love watching that show. Like, it really gives the context to why it's so important to push marriage and family in the Black communities, especially because, like, if you go watch that show, you will see some toxic stuff, and you just be like, man, like you understand how deep the trauma is. Appreciate that, Cody. Congrats, he said. Shaylet says 7 kids, the number of completion, is it?
Man, yeah.
Okay, praise the Lord. I ain't mad at that. What's y'all thoughts, man? Did y'all feel like I'm too hard on mom? Did you feel like she was a good mom for just being there supporting the young man? Or do you feel like she should mind her business and stay off that young lady nuts to a degree?
I personally believe, you know, as a mother, you have to let your children learn how to be adults. You know, if you're there all the time, they're not going to be able to learn how to handle things on their own. Like, for instance, the whole reason why he's in this whole mess is because he's irresponsible. And this probably has a lot to do with his mom babying him all of his life. And even after, you know, they're telling him you should have got up and got that swab. You're like, I don't think I should be the bad guy because I was hungover. That's your fault. You knew the night before that you had to be here.
Right.
So you being hungover wasn't forced on you. You
didn't
have a stomach virus. You drank the night before you knew you had an appointment.
Right. That's a horrible excuse. And listen, I've been there. I didn't got lit the night before I had important things to do. I get it, but like a life-changing decision like that.
And even then, if you did make that dumb choice, when you miss it, it ain't like, oh, y'all blaming me, they got me in jail or whatever. The consequence of for you not showing up, you're like, well, I shouldn't have drank.
Right. Christina said, hold on, Eric said something. He said she was okay on the show, but I got the sense she's not a good mother to him. And I get a sense that in her eyes, she's a great mother. I think she's one of those mothers that probably does everything she can to an unhealthy extent.
He's saying the younger mom
No,
or the older mom?
the older mom.
Oh, okay.
Christina says she should take a step back from that situation. He got himself into that mess. Absolutely. Absolutely. That kid's every bit of 21 at least. Guarantee he's still living in her basement, gonna be there till he about 35. Kel said, you have to let a man be a man. He will never take care of business if his mom keeps stepping in. It's going to take a life-changing event where mom can't help, where he will finally learn. That's why I gather too, bro.
Yep.
And I don't believe this is last time in paternity court.
Yeah.
King Smitty says she babied him to the point where he didn't know how to handle business properly. And I think she knows that she did that to him, so she came to bail him out. That's deep, sense. Bro. That's a good one.
That makes sense.
Cody said, babies having babies, nothing good's gonna come out of it. Neither folks were mature, and it showed on national TV. Man, that's it. And for adults, man, it's so important that we are able to disconnect from our parents, man, properly. And disconnect means not have relationships, but have a healthy adult relationship. Cut that umbilical cord and exist in your own realm, chasing after your own purpose, your own dream, and determined to be who you believe you're called to be. Right. And not following the path of what your parents think you should be doing.
Right. Boundaries are necessary, even in a non-toxic situation.
Absolutely.
As an adult, you should have boundaries of where you allow your parents in.
Listen, so Shay said I should go to school for counseling. I haven't done that. I lean on the specialist. You know, when I hear a specialist that makes sense, I soak up the information. I by no means think I got all the answers. You know, I obtain wisdom from my mistakes, but I also listen to those who deal with people and understand people and how our minds and our emotions work. And I absorb. And Jordan Peterson is one of them. So we're back again on a video about becoming independent from your parents. And this is very important. I think a lot of young adults especially need this lesson.
Carl Jung talked about this phenomenon. He cried phenomenon. He described as retrogressive restoration of the persona. And so it's a complicated idea, but basically what it means is that sometimes you take a leap forward and you learn some things, but you can't catalyze a new identity. So you try to go back and hide in your old identity.
Let me speak real quick on this comment. And remember what he said about not being able to create your own identity. So going back to hiding your old identity. That's big because I've done that. But Eric said, I come from a community where 95% of us planned birth control or used protection. Not sure how to change other ways of life. That's important for my friends that wonder why I single out the Black community. That's important because there are communities out here that have a better understanding of the importance of healthy family planning. And for some reason, we are in a predicament where 80% of us are growing up in single parent homes. And that's not the case for our white counterparts. Largely, it's not the case. So this is important that we address this. And I'm glad that he just pointed out that example, because I can't fathom what that looks like, bro. Because like I said in the last episode, growing up, it was a shock to walk into a home and see a dad. If I went to a friend's house, it was almost a guarantee. Is your mom home? Was the only question we asked. And then he also said he comes from two parents. That's a rarity to me. I can probably think of 3 childhood friends that had a dad in the home. You know what I mean? Out of anybody I played with in the neighborhood. And the advantage there is that I'm in a military town. So I think that even raised my likelihood versus someone from Florida, like my wife, you know what I'm saying? Where that was not the case, where she was outside of a military town. But I mean, it may sound extreme to people who didn't come from that, but we did not expect to walk into a home and see a dad. If your dad was here, you automatically, we even as kids, we acted different. We like, okay.
Right.
And I even remember in my last marriage, for those who don't know, again, I'm on my second marriage. It was odd for me when I first started coming around their family, because when I would come over for dinner, they would all eat at the table. And that gave me anxiety to eat at the table as a family. I'd never done that in my life. All growing up, mom said it's dinner time. I made my plate and I went up to my room because we didn't have a family. We didn't do the table. So when I started dating her and got serious and they're like, come join us at the table, I'm sitting there staring at my plate, anxious, just hurrying up, trying to finish. And he's like, you want more? And I'm like, I mean, I was nervous because I'm like, people looking at me while I eat, this was weird to me.
Right.
And, you know, I just want people to understand like the traumas that come from different backgrounds and situations that you may not have been aware of or accustomed to, man, that why it's important to address these things. Like, I think even you, Eric, you commented watching Paternity Court, like, yo, this is crazy. I've never seen this before.
Right.
And the unfortunate reality, this is common in our community. This is actually not crazy to us. So thank you for being here, man. And like you said, being so sold on unity and coming together, bro. And it's important, man, that even in us trying to see each other as one, that we care enough to want to see each other exist on the same plane.
Right.
And, you know, we all believe in equal opportunity, but not equality of outcome. We know we got to work hard and we got to make the change from within. And it starts with re-educating each other to see the toxicity in our ways so we can be accountable for these decisions.
You have to
change our mindsets. Eric said it was dysfunctional, but I'm honestly naive to a lot of this. That's eye-opening, bro. For a lot of people, they might have needed to hear that. And some may not be as honest as you were with saying that. He also said, I know single parents' house is different, but not growing up like that, you just don't know. Amen.
And that actually doesn't work because, well, things have changed and you've learned something and that isn't who you are anymore. And so it's like you have to cut parts of yourself off in a destructive manner to fit back into the person that you were. Now, what happens here is that Pinocchio escapes from this tyrannical situation and undergoes this descent into chaos, but he tries to go back home. He tries to go back to what he was, and he can't do that anymore. His father isn't at home anymore. And so when he goes home, he finds that there's no home there. Now, this happens to people sometimes, and it's often a shock to them. So one of the things I've noticed about Peter Pan type, I'm going to speak about men here because I've observed it more in men, is that they'll often stay under the thumb of their father. And you think, well, why would someone do that? Because it means they're subject to the tyrannical judgment of their father. They're always concerned about what their father would think or whether their father approves of them, and so forth. And you think, well, that's got to be an unpleasant place to be. Why would you do that? One of the things that I've suggested to my clients and to other people sometimes is that here's a weird little exercise that you can undertake, a little thought experiment. So you have your parents, and of course your parents have friends who are about their age, and maybe some of them are people you only know peripherally. And I might ask you, well, do you care more about what your parents think than you care about what these peripheral people who know your parents think? And then the answer to that is, well, of course. And then the question that arises out of that is, why? I mean, for someone else.
What phrase is that, Kel? Just so I can be clear, bro.
Your parents are the peripheral people, and their parents are central. Like, why is it logical that your parents' opinion makes any more difference to you than the opinion of some randomly selected people who are approximately that age? Why is it the case that you would consider that they would know more than someone else? I mean, I know they know you better, and fair enough, but that's not the point. And then Another point there is that to the degree that your parents' opinion about you matters more than some randomly selected people of approximately the same age, Jung would say, well, you haven't exactly separated out the God image from your parents. And so you're still under that combination. It's like, it's a complicated thing to talk about, but think about the Harry Potter series. Harry has two sets of parents, right? He's got the Dursley parents, and then he's got these like magical parents that sort of float behind, and he should know the difference between them. They shouldn't be one and the same. They're not for him. And it's like, well, you have your parents and you have nature and culture as parents, and you shouldn't be thinking that your parents are nature and culture as well. They shouldn't have final dominion over you. It means that you're not an individual yet, if that's the case. Freud said, for example, that no one could be a man unless his father had died. And Jung said, yes, but that death can take place symbolically. Okay, so there's that part of the idea. And then another part of the idea is one of the times in your life when you actually realize that you're an individual is when you'll go and ask your parents something and you'll realize they actually don't know any more about what you should do than you do. And that sucks.
Wake up call.
And that's partly why people are often willing to maintain a tyrant-slave relationship with their father. It's like, on the one hand, you have to be inferior in a relationship like that. You know, you've always got the judge watching you. But on the other hand, there's always someone who knows what to do. There's always
Really quick on that. Kel said the tyrannical rule of the father phrase really stuck out to him. Eric said he's talking about me. I did have a father, but I had a tyrannical father that I was terrified of, and it was hard becoming my own man. He's right on. Ironically, because I was raised primarily by my mother, she kind of took the role of that tyrannical father and had very masculine traits and an approach towards dealing with me. So it's odd that I relate to that through my mother. I don't know how normal that is, but I feel those same emotions that are being spoken of in this piece.
someone standing between you and the unknown that you can go ask, what should I do? Well, at some point, you'll realize that the reason you can't ask that anymore is because they actually don't know any more than you do. And then that's a pain, like that is a symbolic death. And that's also when you establish a more individual relationship with your parents. It's at that point that you could conceivably start taking care of them instead of the reverse. And that's a time that should come. But you have to let that image of perfection go. And that exposes you. Well, that's
let the image of perfection go. And that exposes you. That's huge. Because one thing when you're dealing with tyrannical parents, they're hell bent on keeping you in that place of submission or under their authority. So it becomes hard once you grow into manhood for them, when you start to understand life from your perspective, when you start to have your own experiences, and they don't want to let go of that need that you had for them. And so it's hard to restructure your relationship with that type of parent oftentimes, because they have to keep you in that place for them to feel important.
Happens here. You know, Pinocchio goes home and he wants things to be the way they were, and he wants to stay under the careful care of the benevolent father, but that's no longer possible. He's past that point, and that's why the father has disappeared. And so Geppetto has gone off to look for Pinocchio because he also needs a son, but in any case, the house is abandoned. And so then we see inside the house that everything's covered with cobwebs and everything's gone. And Pinocchio and the cricket sit on the steps and they're very concerned. First of all, they wonder where he went. So they're actually concerned that he's gone, but they also don't know what to do because there's just no going home. And so, you know, that's also the case that once you hit a certain point in your development, well, it's the same thing we already talked about. The answers that you're looking for are not going to be found in your parents' house. It's as simple as that. Now, you could artificially maintain your dependency, but you know, if you do that for too long, things get pretty ugly. So you get pretty stale, and you know, you're like bread that's been on the shelf for too long.
Thoughts?
It's a fact. In the new economy, average people.
I definitely had the same experience you did but it wasn't my father, it was my mother. She's very tyrannical and controlling. And even as an adult, when I fell on hard times and had to move in with her, you know, it was she was very controlling. It was like I could wear makeup. She didn't like me on the phone. I'm 22
Make
years
sure you're
old.
talking into the mic.
I'm 22 years old, and she's telling me, you know, I can't wear makeup. I can't get off your phone. You're texting too much and things of that nature. And I'm like, well, Mom, I'm not a teenager anymore. You know, I understand I'm under your roof, but to the point where you don't want me to wear makeup or use my phone, even, it's just like, I think a lot of these parents don't know how to let up and let their children be adults, especially when you're in their home.
Man, that's deep. And sometimes it gets worse when you leave their home. Because when you
Right.
in their home, there is an unspoken barrier there that allows them to keep control.
Yep.
But once you're gone and that barrier is broken, it's like they try to force their will in these areas now. Kel said, it took me up to 24 when I moved to the West Coast to rebuild myself to be a man of my own choices and not under what my father thought about it. That's deep, man. Because a lot of parents, it's hard. You know, they when they see you as that little child, they automatically from that day have their idea of who they want you to be.
Right.
And when you grow up, I don't know anybody that becomes what their parents thought they would. And if they do, are you happy with that?
Right.
So that's a hard reality of parenting. Like even looking at my children now, is knowing they're probably not going to be who I try to plan or direct them to.
Right. That's why I want to go in this, especially as they get older. Let's see what you are interested in. I don't want to push too much of my ideas or, you know, what I think you should be doing with your life. That's why even now I talk to my 10-year-old daughter, 11-year-old daughter. Yes, she was. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to have children? Do you want to be married? What do you see for yourself? And then we talk it out, and if it's something that could be bad for her, I'll explain to her why this could possibly not be so good. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to I want to be able to trust that what I've instilled in my children when they leave this home is gonna do something in their life, but I can't be there all the time. Right. I have to trust God with my children. And I think a lot of parents have an issue with that.
You can't make your children be what you want them to be.
Right. You got to let them make their own mistakes. You got to, like just the other day, the kids were outside and my 3-year-old was following my 8-year-old up a tree. He's a little boy. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to turn my head because he needs to learn. If he falls out the tree, he falls out the tree.
A tyrannical parent is hearing you right now, and they like, oh, we need to call CPS on her. They have no idea the idea of letting a child do him.
Right.
And that's just appalling. And I get it, man. Sometimes we want to protect our kids, but you have to allow your kid to learn in life, man. And you got to make mistakes to learn.
Yeah.
So let me know.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, I want to have a relationship with my kids. I want my grandbabies at my house. So I don't want to be overbearing where my kid feels like they have to stay away, where they have to distance themselves from me because I'm all up in their business. I don't want to be that mom. I want them to want to come to me. You know what I'm saying? I want when they feel the need, I miss mom, or let's go see grandma. It's a joy for them, not, oh, I got to get my story straight. I got to make sure I say the right thing and tell her that I've been on the right track. No.
You know your parents is about to grill you soon as you get in the house.
Right.
Then you also don't want to be that parent that your kid got to hide everything from you. Like, that's horrible, man.
That's one of my fears, honestly, that my children will feel the need to hide things from me.
Right.
Because I was that kid.
Listen, me too. My mom didn't know anything about me. And to this day, she still don't. She thinks she does. But she didn't know anything about me. She can't tell you one girlfriend that I've ever had as a child. She barely knew who my friends were. I kept everything from her because I didn't want to be judged. You know what I mean? And criticized and critiqued in every portion of my life.
Right.
You know, and so we got a good comment. Oh, Kel said that's exactly how I was. He said, I realized one day when my mom told me that my dad was afraid how I would fare 1,000 miles away from them. That was a revelation for me. Of course, my mom told me I would be just fine. I came back a totally different person. It took them about 6 months to adjust. Wow. Wow. Yeah, man. And to the parents, you know, defense, it's hard, man. It's hard raising a child, yo, especially to become an adult. It's hard. And that's another thing, is forgiving our parents.
Yeah.
It's easy to be mad at them for everything that they did wrong, but they did the best. Well, I think we were generous with that statement. Sometimes they did the best, but sometimes they just did what they knew how to do based on their own experiences. And sometimes when you have your own traumas, those traumas are going to dictate your decisions in life. So it's important, like I said, that's why I lean on the specialists. I do my research and I listen to those who deal with people, who understand the nature of people, man. So I don't make the same mistakes as my mom by thinking, or even my dad, by thinking that I know how life is supposed to go based on what went wrong in mine.
Right.
You know, we often repeat our parents' traumas, and they repeating their parents' traumas, and it's generation after generation of trauma, and nobody's saying let's do things differently. Right. So I love it was somebody that asked Jordan Peterson a question in regards to advice for mothers, and it is so key that we apply this right here. This one thing.
You don't see that being put forward as a cultural ideal. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. I was sitting beside a young woman today on the plane. I thought, it'd be nice to put up a website where people could just upload pictures of young mothers with babies, like thousands of them, you know, because yeah, it's part of a deep pathology in our culture. That not that women are off pursuing careers, because you know there's a shortage of genuine competence, and we should use it wherever we find it. But to not also at the same time elevate that other option, especially for young women, it's actually a lot easier to elevate young women. You know, it's harder as you get older. Not to elevate that as a pursuit at least equally worthy means that there's something deeply wrong with our society. So I would say the first thing that's worth doing is to really understand that. I mean, you have a community of young women with babies around you? No. Okay, that's something that you might want to either search out or create, because you actually have to talk to other people in your situation so that they can help you figure out how to deal with the problems that you're going to deal with. You know, because some of what you're talking about is very sophisticated learning. And it is very difficult to do if you hadn't had that role model when you're very young. So I have a colleague, Allison. She's studying maternal behavior in rats. And like animal experimental psychologists make brilliant discoveries about human psychology all the time. She found that if you separate rat pups from their mother, but raise them, the disturbance in maternal behavior lasts 3 generations.
So if you didn't hear that, he said if you separate rat babies from their mother and raise them, the maternal impact lasts for 3 generations in rats. Now, this goes back to the whole career woman versus stay-at-home mom thing, where you see the people virtue signal, well, my wife in a career leaves the kid at daycare, but it's still the same amount of love they're getting from the stay-at-home mom. That's humanly impossible.
Yes.
It's humanly impossible. So to see the type of disturbance that causes in rats, understanding that we're more dynamic creatures, we're foolish to not take these things into consideration. We're dealing with our children.
Right, right. And rats are nowhere near as complicated in their maternal behavior as human beings. And so that disruption is really, really troublesome. So, well, you should be able to, so you need a community of people who are in the same situation around you so that you can talk to them, so that you guys can figure out what, by consensus, what the right approach is, right? And then you can observe each other. Do you have a partner? Does he have a clue? Yes. because that means that you can also turn to him and when you're confused and say, look, I'm not exactly sure what to do here when you're angry or frustrated or upset or disappointed. But goodwill will take you a long way, and so the other thing I would say is too, you don't have to be perfect. Like babies, children are actually quite resilient. What they want to know is that that you actually are on their side, like seriously.
Jacqueline, I appreciate that, sis. She said, enjoying this session. This is good teaching, never too old to learn. Thanking God for y'all. And sis, like I said, we're learning too. Yes. We're just sharing the things we're learning as we go. We humble enough to know that we need help. So that's why we seek out the answers, man. And we just want to share the answers with our community. So thank you for learning with us. And he just said a big statement that children ultimately want to know that you're on their side. I cannot tell you how many times I've privately talked to friends, and the number one thing that bothers me about my childhood into adulthood is the lack of support. I don't feel like my aspirations, desires, and wants were supported and pushed parentally. And to hear him say that just connected so deeply with me, because it's clicking for me now how important it is for me to not follow that cycle with my kids. I need to get them out here, develop their gifts, figure out their talents early, so when they grow into adulthood, they have a sense of direction of who they are, what they want to be, and they know dad is behind me.
And praise them along the way.
Yes.
And B, that if you make a mistake, that you'll recognize that you made a mistake and fix it. So if you make a mistake with your kid, you can always say, look, kid, baby, or they're too young, but a little older, you say, look, I was a little hard on you this morning, like, apologies, we'll do it better next time. Give them a pat and a hug, and then they learn that it's actually okay to make a mistake and that you can make up afterwards. And that's an immensely important thing for children to learn. This is also why it's good for them to see their parents in conflict. Because you might say, well, you should never fight in front of your kids. It's like, no, you should never fight and fail in front of your kids. What they need to see you in conflict. And
how many people have ever heard that in their lives? I've heard society puts so much pressure on parents.
Yes.
And they make you think if you're anything short of perfect, you are a horrible parent. And especially these tyrannical parents. It's like, because of all of the mistakes that they made, they have even more of a lording, magnifying glass over their children's parenting.
Yeah.
And to hear this man say it's important for your child to not only see you make mistakes, so they understand how to maneuver and bounce back from mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for your kids to see you argue as parents.
That blew my mind.
Do you know how much freeing that was? Because me and my wife coming into this relationship, both needed therapy. Mm-hmm. Both had been through hell and back, and we grew together, but we took our hell out on each other, and we did a lot of arguing.
And I felt like crap.
We thought we ruined the kids.
Yeah.
And to hear him say that, because one thing that they learned from it is that mom and dad are still together. Mm-hmm. And then they've seen mom and dad grow love for each other. They've seen mom and dad deal with each other better. Mm-hmm. And I've never thought about the lesson that has come from that.
Right.
And for him to say this, I mean, I hope this is freeing other parents out there who have held yourself to these unrealistic standards of perfection, to know that it's actually better to not be perfect.
Right.
And resolve conflict in front of your kids.
They need to see you resolve the conflict and make up, because then they're not terrified of conflict. right? Because otherwise they're terrified if you hide it. It's like, oh my God, we're having a fight. The relationship must be over. It's like, no, it's not over. I wish it was over temporarily. So if your relationship with your husband is working out, then both of you are watching. And that's going to be a help. When you're frustrated and disappointed, you don't know what the hell to do, well, then talk it out with him. Because collectively, you should be able to decide. And then the other thing I would say is get some other mothers around you, because they're going to be having the same problem. So, and then you can solve that to some degree collectively. So,
I love what he said. Even to the mothers out there, this is one of the pleasures of being married. You know, if you feel at a loss, if you feel like you're struggling, talk it out with your husband. That's what he's there for. Let him know, hey, babe, like this is really giving me a struggle. Like, I don't know what to do. Two heads are better than one. You know, that's the pressure that can be relieved by marriage, versus single parenting, where you kind of have to absorb that and possibly take it out on your kids.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that, especially with my son. You know, sometimes I get to a place where I'm like, oh, this dude just does not listen to me. I don't know what to do. I've even cried tears over it, and then I just like, you know what? I walk away, and then I go to him, and I'm like, babe, I'm overwhelmed right now. I don't know what to do with him. He won't listen to me. You got to step in. And then Phil calms me down, and he's like, all right, let's figure out a plan. And actually, ever since we did that, my son he's been impeccable. I haven't had too many more issues. Once I had my breakdown, I was like, I just need help.
Right.
Hubby stepped in, and we were able to come together, because I was being soft. I was letting him off too easy. And he was like, no, he's on punishment. He stay on punishment.
Right.
And that consistency and having that backup, having that support really, you know, fixed everything. And then another thing I love that he said was being accountable even to your children. You're not too grown or big to say you're sorry to your children. They're people too. And it teaches them a big lesson about making mistakes and being accountable. If your parent is being accountable to you, then it's nothing for you to be accountable to the people that you love in your relationships in the world. And I think that's very important, because me growing up, my mother was never accountable. There's been times where I've gotten a spanking for something I didn't do. And then when she finds out that I didn't do it, well, that's for GP purposes, general purposes. So,
right, because I know you're going to do something later
you're gonna
anyway.
do something later. And then I'm like,
so we got it out the way.
For that too. So I didn't want to be that. I hated that my mom would never say she was sorry when she was wrong. And I just knew that that's something that I didn't want to do to my kids, because it made me just not like her. And I want my kids to like me.
Absolutely. Cody said, I saw my parents fighting all the time. It wasn't always healthy, but I knew where we stood. I had friends whose parents got a divorce out of nowhere. As far as the kids were concerned, they never realized everything wasn't copacetic. Boy, that's a major comment. I gotta pin that. Jesus. That's so beautiful, bro. That's so beautiful, because that's the danger in trying to paint a picture for society. And you hide reality from your kids. And it probably hurt them that much more when the divorce popped up. They like,
yeah.
So you just sick of us, Dad? You just leaving us? Right. Like, they don't even understand that there could be a valid reason behind this at all. Kel said, I would want my future wife to not be afraid to come to me with problems. Even if I don't have an immediate solution, I know my wife is ailing and need my support. That I cherish. You sound like a provider protector to me, sir.
Amen.
It sounds like the natural order of a man speaking through you right there. And that's real, man. That's how it should be, bro. And I just want to dispel this pressure that's put on parenting. Like, I've been getting so freed by really going to the experts, because one thing I know, I'm gonna toot my own horn for a minute, because I have been so beaten down in my childhood. Everywhere I go, people complimenting our family. Our family is a blessing to be around. When we walk in, strangers are just like, oh my gosh, they love what they see. Anytime someone babysits or watches my kids, they're amazed at how well behaved and well mannered they are. And I've never really gotten credit for it from my mother.
Right.
All I've gotten was the negatives. Oh, their hair won't done last time they came. Oh, they ain't have the nicest shoes on. When you knew we were going through that time. We were literally living in hotels at this time. Why would you throw that in our face?
Right, they got hoes.
And so I bought into this idea that I was a bad parent. And then I'm just like, but the fruit of our parenting is saying otherwise. I mean, people that have had kids longer than us, people that have been teachers and dealing with kids for a living are complimenting our children. And so clearly there is some kind of unit that is conducive to a healthy environment for them that's producing great behavior in them.
Right.
And so I had to stop listening to these things. I had to stop allowing these things to affect my decisions and be a man and just do what was best for my family. And so the more I'm studying and the more I'm realizing how much society is lying to us. They're wrong about everything.
Literally.
And all of these unnecessary pressures are literally doing the opposite effect of what we want out of life.
Right.
And that's really just been freeing for me because I've always known my kids were awesome, but you know how as a parent sometimes you feel like, well, maybe it's in my head. You know, everybody think their kid is good, but I've never gotten a bad report about my children. If anything, it'd be one child that was the standout that maybe was doing something.
Right.
But typically,
I mean, out of 6.
Listen, I take them odds.
Right.
And so give yourself a break, parents. You know, stop allowing yourself to look at the Joneses and everybody else and what you perceive, especially Facebook. Stop letting social media lie to you. People, that's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
You know, everybody got problems, but look at the fruit, because you can have a kid that have a lot of nice things. They always got new clothes, new shoes. They always have the hottest game systems, and you think, oh, their parents make them happy, but the relationship is awful.
Yeah.
They hate their mom and dad. They close the door and lock themselves away.
Right. And they like, oh, there goes mom.
There goes mom.
Here she comes. But when we come down the stairs, it's like,
it's a party.
Yay!
Daddy! Daddy, come talk to us. I'm like, I did. Right. Come talk to us, Daddy. And I'm like, I did. Talk again. So we gotta give ourselves a little bit of slack with that, man, and just look at the fruit and find value in that. It's very important. I'm trying to find something. I don't know where it went.
It's not in your light.
Okay. This is I hate that it looks like people have started to leave, because this is probably, for my parents, the most important clip I've played all day. It's a 3-minute clip, and then we're gonna get out of here because we've been on here for a while. But if you're still rocking with us, if you're not a parent yet, this one is probably going to take away some of your anxiety, because it's awesome.
From idea to business to building it too, we have a platform for all that you do. MailChimp.
Lucas Giolito, 2018 worst pitcher in baseball.
Most children now have older parents, right? Because people aren't having children until they're in their 30s. And there's a big difference between having a parent who's in his or her 30s and having a parent who's in his or her 20s.
Yep.
The 20-year-olds are still kind of like kids, and they're going to be more usefully neglectful.
So all my young parents out there, you've been told that you're at a disadvantage because you're in your 20s and that a responsible adult waits to their 30s when their womb is almost done working to have children. We have a clinical psychologist here that's about to bust that myth wide open for you. Notice what he just said. Parents in their 20s are usefully neglectful. Listen up.
I would say, well, look, one of the things we used to do with my daughter when she was very little was, she was about a year and a half, is we'd have her in a room alone, and she would usually complain about that for a few minutes, and then she'd find a way to amuse herself. She liked to take books out of shelves and put them back in, and like if you let her get through that initial bit of misery, then she would learn how to regulate herself, and she got very good at that. So that's a good example of minor privation having a positive influence. But children used to have multiple siblings, and siblings toughen you up because there's tremendous competition in families among siblings, and they had younger parents who had fewer resources. And now parents are older, first of all, and second, they're more resource rich, and so they're more likely to schedule their children to death in some sense to provide them with all the opportunities that they feel would be useful. And that's understandable. And plus, because they have fewer children, each child is in some sense more precious. Not like if you have 10 children, you don't love all of them, but there's 10 of them. There's only so much excess attention.
He touches so many things. I have to pause it. Now, I cannot tell you how many times we have heard kids need a schedule and that a responsible, good parent has everything laid out for their child, and all of these ideologies that he just busted open. I love what he said about the fact that he used to let his daughter just go in her room and they would just close the door, lock her in, and she would have a problem for a little bit of time, and then eventually she'd get over it and learn how to just get by with herself. Mm-hmm. This testifies to our family so much, because when you have a family as big as ours, you cannot be a hands-on parent all the time. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons I think so many people are afraid to have a large family, because they think that the way that they parent a single child is the way they're going to have to parent each child. And I need to give you a reality check. Your oldest child grows up, he takes some responsibilities. Mm-hmm. The next child under him grow up, he takes some responsibilities. Next child grow up, he takes some. Eventually that older child will be at an age where he can babysit.
And they keep each other busy.
Yes, especially if you have them 2 at a time. Mm-hmm. Listen, our last 4 are a year apart.
Yeah.
So they are goons. Tight. I mean, when they come in upstairs, it sounds like an army. Boom, boom,
yeah,
boom,
yes.
Boom, boom, boom.
2 by 2.
Yes. And so it's so beautiful to see it, because we really don't have to do much. Mm-hmm. On a Saturday morning, they'll get up, go pour their own cereal.
Yeah.
Turn the TV on, start watching cartoons. Mm-hmm. Like it really becomes less of a job the more kids you have. And I think this is what a lot of people don't realize. Mm-hmm. And we've been criticized for this. Our oldest, she knows how to cook. Mm-hmm. She's been taught how to change diapers. She helps mom. Yeah. Mom does not sit around and do all of this housework by herself.
Right.
This 11-year-old is going to be ready to be somebody's wife, and she's going to be awesome with it when Absolutely. It's her time. And they'll go to spend time at a friend's house to hang with other kids. Mm-hmm. And the friend is like, oh no, I got it, but the oldest is like, no, I'm used to taking care of my brothers and sisters. Let me change the diaper.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the friend like, no, just go play. They like, no, this is what I do. I take care of my siblings.
Right.
And it's beautiful to watch that. They go outside, they go out there as a camp, and they I'm talking about the 2-year-olds out there.
Right.
And they're not gonna let nothing happen to him. Mm-hmm. So this is the part I think that gets overlooked a lot of times. And I love it, because now I don't have to depend on adults changing my kids' diapers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I don't like stuff like that, especially men. I don't want a man changing my daughter's diapers. Mm-hmm. So it's all kind of benefits to having a lot of children that I think people have misconceptions about.
Absolutely.
Cody said only kids are the worst. Siblings really do toughen you up. I can attest as one of 5, bro. It's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
A whole different ball
I mean,
game.
it can get loud. There's fights, but I mean, it's still they get to learn.
Yep.
They get to learn their strength. They get to learn respect. They get to learn boundaries. There's a lot that these children with siblings can learn from each other. Don't just bust in the bathroom.
There you go.
Knock on the door. These are things that they're gonna need to learn for the real world as well.
Listen, and by the time you 3 in this house, you got to know how to fight.
Yeah,
you got to know how to fight, and you can't. Yeah, you got to know how to fight, and you can't cry. and so it's a lot of valuable skills to learn in a large household.
Yeah,
can go around, and they do a lot of socializing each other rather than being socialized by parents. But if you only have one child, you're going to devote all your resources to providing them with absolutely everything you can provide them with. And one of the dangers of that is that you'll overprotect them and you'll provide them with too much. And we don't understand those dynamics, right? We don't understand how much you should stay hands off your kids and let them go out there and make their own mistakes and find their own way. And that's tricky, and we're ignorant about it. And so I think one of the consequences of that is that we do have a reasonable percentage of young people, maybe young adolescents, the kind that you hear about at university, who have been overprotected and overscheduled and under challenged in some sense. And so they're not very resilient. And then of course what's happening in the universities, the safe spaces and the trigger warnings and all of that.
Yeah.
And there's good recent research on this. Trigger warnings clearly make things worse rather than better. We extend that overprotection far longer than is helpful. It's hard though, because as I said, when you have resources, you can use them to make your children's lives, let's say, easier. But the question is, do you really want to make the life of someone you love easier? And that's an incredibly difficult question.
Really difficult question, because every parent thinks the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Every parent wants their child's life to be as easy as possible, probably except me and King Smitty. King Smitty wants his kid's life to be hard in a good way. That's not a diss. He wants his kid to go through challenges, and he wants them to have real world experiences. And I feel him on that. I think a lot of parents do them kids a disservice with trying to create a cookie cutter lifestyle for them. And that's one of my biggest fears, is that my kids get out here and be one of these entitled, spoiled brats that have no accountability for anything in life, and they're irresponsible. And that's a reflection of poor parenting to me. I don't like that. So I love that video clip. Y'all don't know how many chains that broke in me,
right,
to realize that everything we've been taught was wrong and we've been doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the natural way that feels normal to you is right.
Right.
And you got to stop listening to people, especially people who have failed in their life,
right,
especially the people who don't have a healthy or successful family. You know what I mean? We don't think about that because these people may have certain roles in our lives where we think that we've made them some type of authority figure that they didn't earn.
Right.
But
I also wanted to bring up something that this video made me think about, and how having more than multiple kids is such a blessing, because my 2-year-old son Phil the third, when he was born, well, I guess as he got a little older, he was very antisocial. And when new people came around, he would cry. He didn't like new people. He barely liked his brothers and sisters. He was very much so just independent. He wanted to be on his own or with mommy. But as time grew, he had to get in where he fit in. And now I don't have that issue where we have guests and he's screaming and crying because there's a new person there. He has learned to get along with other people because he has brothers and sisters that he's had to get in and fit in with. And he's realized, okay, if I don't, because he used to walk on his knees rather than his feet. He used to don't on his knees. And him seeing his brothers and sisters running outside and he looking out the window pushed him to want to be a big boy and get up on his feet. Same with socializing. When he wanted our attention, but all the other toddlers would run to us and, you know, come, hey, mommy, and hug on us. And he's in the corner. He didn't quite get as much attention as they did. So he realized, okay, I need to speak up. I need to use my voice. I need to show that I want your attention. And I think, you know, like I said, having a bunch of kids can actually fix even, you know, internalized issues or whatever. Maybe it was just his personality because he it seemed to be he was born that way, but he was able to be socialized without having to go to school as the awkward kid. I believe like now he has full confidence and I don't have to worry about him being picked on.
Right.
So
yeah, I thought he was weird. I ain't gonna
he
lie. I
definitely
was
was
like,
weird.
yo, what's up with my boy? Like he
was
don't get it.
Yeah.
But now it's like he a whole different person. He caught on quick. Jacqueline said, never use your expectancy for your children only to be let down. I felt that way because they went left. Amen, sis. We would definitely take that advice.
Mhm.
And I appreciate you sharing that vulnerable statement. I know that must be kind of hard. Cody says, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. Amazing quote. I love it. I love it. And this is an amazing quote, but it's a troubling one. You know, it can scare you a bit if you really look into it too deeply.
Mhm.
But we got to let people live. Smitty said the only people I've seen successfully groom their children into what they wanted them to become has been the Asian community. Wow.
Mhm.
I really want to do a study on that, bro.
Mhm.
If you have any more insight on that, as to how.
Mhm.
And honestly, just me speaking on something I may be wrong on, Asians put a lot of pressure on their kids. You know, the Japanese, I mean, they go to school 6 days a week. They take entrance exams to get into high school. They just have a hardcore society. I think their suicide rate is light years above ours because they work. Everything is very competitive in those societies.
With those, I think a lot, like you said, they have a lot of pressure on them. And the Asian children, their life is for pleasing their parents.
There you go. I mean, at the end of the day, Asians go to college knowing what they're going to do and why, because their parents told them from the minute they were a child. And
I don't know. I mean, on paper, it's probably successful, but how do they really feel?
And I guess another deeper question is life about happiness?
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter how you feel if you're getting results?
True.
That, you know, I don't necessarily want that for my life and my lineage, but can we knock it? You know, when as a community they're thriving bigger than ours.
Well, I mean, you hear a lot of these multimillionaires saying they're lonely because they don't have anyone to share it with and things of that nature. I think happiness has a lot to do with success.
I don't think Asians are lonely.
Yeah, that's true.
They value family.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So maybe the way they're doing it is the way to go. I don't know.
I probably won't know. But I would. That's a tough one, bro. Yeah. And I would definitely love to do a study and look into that.
Because the background of my family is Asian. My mom is Asian. Her mother, they're from Korea, and they definitely put a lot of value on, you know, school and careers. And if you didn't have it, they treated you like crap. If you wasn't up to their standards, you were talked about and slandered, and they were embarrassed of you. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a positive and a negative with it.
To support,
man. Oh, this ain't showing.
For local restaurants,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I kind of want my kids to come into themselves and be who they are. Because that's what I was about to say. You know, largely Asian communities are typically not Christian.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think the way that they're doing it is what's best in the world standards. But are you robbing your children of a bigger call and a destiny? That's what I would be concerned with. But that's not everybody's concern.
Right.
So no, it's not.
17.
So Jacqueline said, I see humble all over you, Jasmine. King Smitty said, if you don't attend college as an Asian, an intervention is necessary. Oh man. So with that said, man, in good old fashion, we're gonna roll out with our favorite show one more time. This is very interesting. This is a man who had a vasectomy 30 years ago. And yeah, found himself in paternity court. Gabriella said off back, he's not the father. Listen, I mean, listen, scientifically, I don't even understand why you're here, sir. But okay, we got a really good comment. Cody says, well, first of all, Jacqueline Rich said, girl, bye. Cody said, he still has to pay for it if it's his child or not. The child was born during the marriage. She could have been raped, question mark. That's dark, but I think it's a possibility if she passed out somewhere. Also, he's got good reason to be concerned. They were both adulterous in the lead up to this relationship. All great points, bro. Valid points. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel a little compassion towards her. I'm looking at this woman's face and it's just deep distress. You can tell she's in a very dark place. Yeah. Welcome back, Shay. Let us know your thoughts. About to die. This is a horrible position to put this man in if you cheated on him, sis.
Tonight, I'll be eating a calzone from Dobos in Aurora. Rock on.
What do you guys think?
Tonight, I'll be eating lobster
Is he
thermidor
the
au
father?
gratin. Really? Yeah. That monkeys might fly out of my butt. Make it 2 calzones.
I really have a hard time with
Do you want to watch
the I was drunk thing. I hate that. I hate the lack of accountability that comes with that. The I have no recollection if a man penetrated me. I just hate how it sounded. I had to share this one.
Yeah.
I love the restoration story. Figured what better way to go out giving God the glory, man. That just was so awesome to me.
Yes.
Definitely the best episode I've seen thus far, because usually it's just negative. And I think this man could possibly be the father. I've never heard of I was drunk, situation turn out to actually, and now I'm starting to think that she probably conjured up the idea that she probably did black out, because she's like, well, he got a vasectomy. There's no way he's the father. Maybe I did get drunk. Something might have happened.
Right. And he's very convincing and intelligent. So he's like, there's no way. And she's like, well, I am a bad drinker. I am on pills.
This woman probably like tortured herself
and then you
for a year straight.
You got to remember, he had her in there 20 different times getting ultrasounds.
Wow.
So she's been tortured all throughout her pregnancy up to how old is the baby now? 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, I'm very
about
happy.
A whole year.
I'm very happy with that ending, and I hope they have a blessed life together, and hopefully they shoot some more out. Jacqueline said he went from blank man to live ammunition.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yes, God can do it. Look at Sarah.
There you go. Shoot, look at Sarah. Look at Somebody else. Oh, Virgin Mary in this situation. But yo, with that said, man, we out of here, yo. I just want to remind y'all one more time. If y'all did not see our post earlier, we finally went ahead and started the YouTube channel so we can go ahead and put all this content in one place. We uploaded the last couple lives that we did already, and this one will likely be on there by tomorrow. Here it is, just so you can see it. It's called Driscoll and Jazz. Pretty simple. We got all kind of old stuff. Her supporting me at an old performance. We have the marriage and family talks that we do. Some content with the kids. I mean, all kind of things for y'all to check out and kind of get a background catch up on our life. My internet kind of wilding right now. Because my wife is supposed to use this page to vlog initially, and she just never really got the motivation to do it. So you got some stuff, man. She got a vlog of her labor one time, and a bunch of different videos of the kids and all kind of stuff. So please check it out, subscribe. Matter of fact, let me drop the link in the comments right now and pin it. So we can wake up tomorrow and hopefully see 6 subscribers. Jacqueline Rich said, enjoy y'all as usual. Have a blessed night. You too, sis. I really appreciate you sticking it out this whole time.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Everybody, man, that stuck it out throughout this entire time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We love you guys. Shaylet, love you.
You already know that. And did the link post?
I don't see it.
The link didn't post yet, huh? Well, guess the internet wants us to get up out of here, but it's all good. If the link does not post, oh shoot, we still screen sharing. That's why. Let me try it again. People looking like, whoa, what's up with all these windows? There we go.
Okay, it's there.
Now it's there. Let me pin it. So it is right there pinned. So if you're watching the playback, please go and subscribe. We might start doing our lives from there in the future. And we're gonna do a lot of reaction videos to Paternity Court. That's our show now.
Yes.
And that gives a lot of context to a lot of the stuff we're talking about. So again, thank y'all for rocking with us. Dang, it's 1 a.m. on the East Coast. We love y'all. You want to pray us out this time, Mom?
Sure. Dear Lord, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to come together and give your wisdom. And we pray, Lord, that we can continue to be consistent with this. We pray for everybody that was on the live tonight, even the ones that left. We pray that any seeds that was planted and you watered them, Lord. And we just thank you. And we're humbled to be used by you. And we pray the blessings of God over everyone that is here. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Mike Thomas, for popping in again, bro. As we just explained, we just posted our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, man. We're gonna probably start doing some stuff from there. And with that said, that's it. We out of here. God bless y'all. Have a blessed night.